afternoon, members of the media, and people of Bermuda. I am joined today by the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Michael Weeks, and Minister for the Cabinet Office and Tourism, the Honorable Vance Campbell. Last month, the government of Bermuda was the victim of a highly sophisticated, methodical cyber attack that caused significant disruptions to our IT systems. From the first moment that this cyber attack was discovered, technical officers, public service leaders, and ministers have been working relentlessly and taking every measure possible to address this incident, restore government systems safely, and ensure that the people of Bermuda have access to the services required to be provided by the government of Bermuda. Prior to this sophisticated attack, the government had been engaged in a purposeful process enhancing the security of the government's IT infrastructure. IDT had implemented enhanced security measures and crafted an IDT security strategy, structured past management, and backup strategies. The teams at IDT were in the process of implementing new monitoring tools to gain further insights into our IT infrastructure. Additionally, IDT had recently completed a full risk assessment of our internal systems and completed a security plan, including strategies to combat cyber attacks. In addition, we launched user awareness and cyber phishing programs to enhance our security further. However, despite those proactive efforts, which were ongoing, the government of Bermuda's IT networks fell victim to a malicious attack. The scale of this attack was unprecedented and not comparable to previous cyber attacks that the government of Bermuda had experienced. As stated previously, not all government systems were impacted during this attack. Some of this was due to the structure of our network, where some systems are isolated, and the rest was due to the execution of the existing cyber response plan, where all systems are taken offline to reduce the opportunity for any malicious programs to spread through our IT infrastructure. Following these initial actions, the government immediately engaged Bermuda Police Service and partnered with a high-level cybersecurity specialist team to contain, eradicate, and remediate the threat. The forensic review of the attack and its impact continues, but there has not been a forensic confirmation of the exfiltration of data. Notwithstanding the fact that this has not been forensically confirmed, there is circumstantial evidence that data may have been taken, and we're working on that assumption with the government's privacy team to ensure that impacted parties can be notified. In the wake of this incident, our teams within IDT have implemented new tools to further strengthen our security posture to greatly reduce the possibility of such an incident happening in the future. I must reiterate that this was a sophisticated and methodical attack, and restoring government data and systems has been a monumental and complex task that has required patience and attention to detail. Thank you to the hard-working technical officers, and due to their incredible work, I'm happy to provide the following service updates. The Department of Planning website and self-service portal were back online as of Thursday, October the 12th. The Judiciary IT systems, GEMS, were back online as of Thursday, October the 12th. The electronic border control systems are operational, and the e-gates are working at Elif Wade International Airport as of Friday, October the 13th. The government cashiers on the first floor of the Government Administration Building were also able to accept credit card payments last week, in addition to checks in cash that they were accepting for the past few weeks. The Bermuda Job Board is back online, and also the Government Careers website, which were both restored over the weekend. Most email services have been restored for government users, and we are working through some challenges to ensure that all users can access current and historical mail. The Department of Immigration is fully online, and work will conclude today to ensure that they are able to print documentation and to make sure they can issue new permits. Government phones were bought online last week. However, there are some outages today which are unrelated to the cyber attack, which are expected to be remediated by the end of the day. The financial assistance computer systems were restored early last week, enabling the processing of various payments which are necessary for the vulnerable in our community. Post office systems have been restored and mail processing for international mail resumed on Monday. The Office of the Tax Commissioner is online and accepting payments as normal, as is e-tax, and the government put out a reminder that today is the tax filing deadline for payroll tax, and all payments can be made in the normal fashion. The E1 system, which is the government's main accounting system, was brought back online last week. Just a key point, the system itself was not subject to the attack. It was not actually hit. However, there's a difference between systems being impacted and the access to those systems being impacted. So that was restored last week. Various controllers and others were able to access the systems and begin the work of reconciling all the manual activity that has taken place over the past 3 weeks. And also the customs IT system known as CAPS was also restored last week. We are now working with external vendors and our local banks to restore connectivity to the government's network to ensure the timely processing of payments based upon the enhanced security measures which have been placed on our impacted network. As systems come back online, the government appreciates the continued patience of the public, as public officers deal with a significant backlog following the inability to access most systems for the past 3 weeks. The government's target for full restoration of all services and all departments and persons is the end of this week. And all IT teams, both internal and external vendors who support various government IT systems, are working towards that goal. I would like to thank all of the technical officers, or as we have recently termed them, Team Public Service, who have been working around the clock over the last few weeks to restore our systems and to make sure to enhance our IT security. And to all those officers who have been working to keep services functioning, often in difficult circumstances, having to revert back to manual processes. Within each ministry, remarkable endurance and adaptability have been shown to continue serving the public despite the limited access to tools and systems. The dedication demonstrated over these last few weeks is a testament to the resilience of our public service and our island. In today's world of social media, I recognize that it is easy for the facts to be distorted and for rumors to spread rapidly based on misinformation. However, I want to be clear that this cyber attack was directed at the government of Bermuda. It was not an attack on any particular political party or any individuals, but it was on the IT systems that are used by the government of Bermuda to serve the people of Bermuda and support the economy of Bermuda. Technology does play a pivotal role in our everyday lives. It is essential in education, business, healthcare, public administration, and government affairs. With that in mind, this government decided some time ago to move cybersecurity for the country under the remit of the Minister of National Security, recognizing the national safety implications of cyber security in the modern world. This cyber attack was treated as a matter of national security, and it was incumbent upon the government to act accordingly in all forms. It was vital that we did not share information that could further incentivize our attackers, whom we had to assume were always watching and listening, and compromise our restoration efforts. I know that, yes, at times this was frustrating for the public, but it was essential to the ongoing investigation and the restoration of our systems. Once our systems are fully restored and services have returned to normal operations, the government will initiate a full inquiry into the matter. And in my view, the best place for this to be will be via the parliamentary process so that government backbenchers and opposition members are able to participate. I will discuss this with the Speaker of the House and the Leader of the Opposition and work with them to establish an appropriate parliamentary committee to look into this matter. As I close, I want to thank the public for their patience and their cooperation. I want to stress that the people of Bermuda can feel reassured knowing that the government continues to work diligently and purposefully in our restoration and recovery. There is still work to be done, but I am both grateful and proud of all of the progress that has been made by technical officers restoring our government systems, and look forward to more systems coming back online in the coming days and us reaching our target of full system restoration by the end of the week. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take any questions that members of the media may have for myself or the ministers here.
Thank you, Mr. Premier. You noted that there is circumstantial evidence that data may have been taken. Is that, and can you give us any idea on the scale of the circumstantial evidence? Anything more you can tell us on that?
So with these investigations, the one thing that is important is that you only state what you can know definitively. And as part of this, you look into gathering any forensic evidence that can point and you can state that exfiltration did take place. We have been unable to determine that. However, from the research and the investigation from the teams, there did seem that there was an ability for the attackers to do that from some things of which we have found. Though we have not been able to confirm that, they did have the ability to do so. And so we are proceeding upon the basis, understanding which files may have been accessed, working with the government's privacy team to ensure that appropriate notifications are made to parties who may be affected.
So to clarify, your understanding of the cyber attack itself showing that the attackers could have access,
yes,
which is giving you, well, it could have happened, but you haven't found evidence of that yet.
We do not have confirmed forensic evidence that exfiltration took place. We are operating under the assumption that even through the fact that we've discovered that this capability may have been there, we are going in an abundance of caution.
At this time, can government confirm if the attack was ransomware, and has government or any other body paid to access data in relation to the cyber attack?
I will only repeat the answer that I gave to you before, that we are focused on working with our cybersecurity access and law enforcement to make sure that we continue to secure our systems. This is an ongoing active investigation, and it would not be prudent for us to comment on these matters at this time.
Can you tell us anything about historical data? Do you have full access to government financial data, tax records, legal documents?
There is full access to existing historical data, though the attackers attempted to take out our backups. We did manage to get our backups, so we do have all of the data that existed on government systems prior to the attack. And we, as I said, continue to work through the restoration of those particular efforts. And it has been a monumental and mammoth task. So, but specifically when you talk about tax records, when you talk about all those things, those were all kept on systems that were not impacted by this particular attack. As I said, it did not impact all government systems. It certainly did impact access to government systems, but a lot of the major systems, such as the tax system, such as the accounting system, such as the TCD system, such as the pension systems, were not impacted, and none of those systems themselves were accessed or impacted. However, access that we use on a daily basis through our Windows machines to access those systems were impacted.
So just to clarify, all historical data is accessible?
Yes. Yes. All data is accessible from the system level. Individual users having access to historical information is the stuff of which we're going through the process of restoring. For example, there are some items with email. Email was, one of the main systems. There were temporary emails that were put in place for the head levels of the public service to make sure they can get email back and forth. Now that our email system has been restored, there's just a process of making sure that all persons can have access to historical data. As of today, most members of the public service do have access to their historical emails and are able to go through certain mail. There's some users in a certain subset that do not, and we're continuing to work through those systems. But an overall answer to your question is yes, we have all of the historical data.
And you did touch on this, but it's something the public may want to know. With Christmas around the corner, are all systems restored for customs, overseas purchases, CAPS, the CAPS system? 100%.
CAPS is up, running, and functioning. CAPS has been functioning since last week. CAPS is also one of those systems that were not impacted. However, the access to the system was impacted, and those matters were working. The ID teams worked with the external vendors who support the CAPS system to make sure those matters were brought back online, and those were brought back online last week.
You spoke of looking to set up a parliamentary process for an inquiry into this attack. Once systems are back online, with the last 3.5 weeks, the way things have gone, have you got any idea of a timeline?
I don't have a timeline because the government has been focused on restoration, and that has been our sole effort. So whether it's Minister Campbell, myself, participating in calls that are happening every morning, whether they're Saturday, Sunday, that take place with the IT teams, both internal and external, our focus is on restoration. Once we get past space, restoring government services and making sure that we are in a secure posture, we will turn our attention to other particular items. But the focus of the government has been on restoration, and I must applaud the IT teams and also the public officers who have gone above and beyond to ensure that we can continue to provide service to the public.
And you previously said, obviously, forensic experts, you are working on the system. Is that something that must be, that team, is that something that must be paid for by taxpayers, or is it national security costs covered by the UK?
Well, there is absolutely no cost of anything in our government budget that is covered by the United Kingdom, Gary. You should know that. The government does not cover any cost for anything to do with the operations of the government of Bermuda. So yes, inevitably those will be matters that will be for the taxpayers to pay for. The Cabinet has considered a number of various matters, and those approvals will go to Parliament in the regular course for supplementary estimates. In addition, there is going to be a need, and the Minister is going ahead and putting those particular matters together with IDT to, as we build out this new network, that there's going to be a greater investment that is going to be needed to make sure that our new network is able to be brought online as well. And so that is going to also certainly incur additional capital costs. We will see what things may be able to be moved and deferred on that from my hat as a Minister of Finance, but certainly there is going to be a cost, and all those matters will be transparently reported to Parliament as required.
Question will be, previous government report highlighted apparent insufficiencies in the government's cybersecurity. You opened this press conference talking about what the efforts that government have been making. Do you, Mr. Premier, believe our cybersecurity measures were reasonable and up to international standards at the time of the cyber attack?
So let's put it this way. Our government network is very broad. There were some places where things could have been better, but what I can say is, as I said in numerous cases and instances, people do not come through the front door. And having understood, which I'm not going to disclose this press conference, but the Minister and I were informed of the vector of this particular attack that we found out on Thursday. Again, it wasn't through the front door. It was incredibly sophisticated in the way in which they were managed to do it. It did not happen. An initial infiltration did not happen via government systems entirely. This was something that was incredibly meticulous and complex. And so from that particular aspect, I'm comfortable with the work that has been done with cybersecurity. Could there have been more work that would have done that would have helped us prevent this? Absolutely. But the fact is that the government has made investments in cybersecurity. We were taking the works to increase our security posture in line with the threats that were perceived. But in this particular case and instance and how this attack happened, it would have been particularly difficult to prevent.
Will you be able to tell us about that?
At some point in time, all those things I'm sure will be transparently disclosed when there's an inquiry. And I know that persons want to get that information, but it's important that we focus on the restoration efforts and the security efforts before we start disclosing various vectors that may or may not have been used. Thank you.
Going back to the ransom issue, there is a note circulating on social media, a ransom note that purports to be from the hackers. I actually sent a copy of it to your press office on Friday. Have you seen that note?
You sent a copy of it to where?
To the Prime Communications.
Okay, gotcha.
I sent that on Friday. Have you seen that?
I don't know what specifically you may have sent and what you referred to. What I can state, okay, that's fine. What I can state is that there are many types of speculations which may or may not happen, and what I'm going to state is the position of which I stated previously inside of this. This is an active and ongoing police investigation that is not only maintained with local persons, but international persons, and there's no way that we can comment on any specifics dealing with these particular matters. What I can state is that some persons may have said there was possible speculation that persons in the public may have tried to access something. I would certainly encourage that no one to access anything that may have received on a WhatsApp forward. I do not think that would be a good security posture.
But why does saying whether or not there was a ransom note undermine security? You're not saying anything, you're not revealing anything publicly that the hackers don't already know. Why can't you say, yes, there was a ransom note, or no, there wasn't, categorically, one way or the other?
We are not going to comment on the specifics of an ongoing investigation due to the fact that we do not want to make sure that any information that does not need to be in the public domain is not there. That is the position that I've held, and we're going to continue that position. As I've said, we are focused on restoration. After the fact that we focus on restoration, as I have stated, there will be a full and transparent inquiry, and all those questions will be able to be answered at that point in time.
When you talk about rumours, misinformation, surely this is an opportunity now for you to address the public and say some of this is true, or some of it's false, or what have you?
The government's focus on its restoration efforts, that is the primary focus of the government right now. And after those restoration efforts and after the security efforts, we will be perfectly willing in a transparent fashion to make sure through a parliamentary process so that all questions can be answered to the parliament.
It would take you a matter of seconds to say yes or no to one question. Although restoration might be your focus, how much time would you have to distract from that focus to answer one or two questions about the motives of the attackers? What do you think the motives?
I can't say what the motives of the attackers may or may not be, but that's not been our focus.
Was it financial?
I can't say what the motive of the attackers may be. That was not our focus.
Is that because you don't know, or because you're not prepared to say?
It's from the exact answers which I've given already, Gareth, on this particular matter, and the answers will not change. I know that you want to get information. I know that there is that type of stuff that is there, but it is essential for us to maintain the confidentiality of the specific operational details and safeguard the ongoing investigations. And so that will be the response that you get from the government. I know that it's not the one you want, but that is the one you will get.
You've listed a lot of things that have been corrected or are in the process of being corrected. But can you provide a list of services that are still down, basically?
Off the top of my head, I'll do my best. We have not been able to restore access to all government shared drives. Most government shared drives are up, but there are some government shared drives that are down, and the teams are working through those particular process. Also, a critical department that has not been fully restored is the not accountant general's chambers, the attorney general's chambers and the legislative drafting to ensure that we can continue to draft legislation and also to draft orders. And a further matter, which I know they're working on trying to get up today or tomorrow, is the Court Smart system, which is the court reporting system. So we were managed to bring up the GEM system, but the court reporting system where the courts use the recording, etc. We know that that is not up yet, and the teams to get a report from the vendors and the IT persons over in the judiciary, trying to make sure we get those particular matters up. On our priority list of systems, those are the only priority items that have not yet been restored, and we're working through that.
Now, you mentioned that you were in the process of enhancing security when this attack happened. When did that enhancement process begin? Bearing in mind that I think it was 5 years ago it was recognised that the security needed to be improved.
There's been ongoing enhancements that have continued over time. There's been significant investment into cybersecurity and into the capital budgets in the Department of IDT. And so that work has continued, and as more reports are given, there's enhanced work that has been taking place. So there has been work that has been happening. But as I said, and it will be revealed later, the nature of this attack and the way and sophistication of the infiltration, it's not possible to say whether or not those matters would have been completed if that would have prevented it. It's very difficult to make that inference at this time.
When was the last update from the police?
I do not receive updates from the police. The Minister of National Security will be interactive with the police. I'm sure he can answer any questions related to that.
Could you just answer that question?
Yes, good afternoon. We receive updates from the police just about daily. Yeah, so we've had one this weekend, haven't had one today yet, but I anticipate that we will get an update shortly. It just gives an update as to where we are, and like the Premier has said, there is an ongoing investigation, and once it is done, we would be given the public information as we have been provided.
We still have outside agencies working on that investigation, is that correct?
Right now, the police are leading it for us here in Bermuda.
But are there any other agencies, outside agencies involved?
Well, I think the Premier has made it clear that they had hired other outside agencies, but as the Ministry of National Security, our concern is the involvement of the police force.
Minister, so let's ask you, specifically with regard to information that may have been compromised in some way, personal data, could you talk about medical records? Do you know if they're at risk of, does the government have that sort of information on this?
Well, at this point in time, we cannot talk about anything in specific. The investigation is definitely still ongoing.
I think these are all my questions. Okay, I do have one other question for the Premier, if that's okay. On a related matter, the DA, sorry, not related matter. DAD has recommended that the SDA for the Down to Hampton isn't granted. What's your reaction to that?
My reaction is that we have a process that the law requires to be followed, and I'm sure that the Minister of Home Affairs will take a look at the report and will make his decision in accordance with the law.
Talking about the process, is it solely down to the Minister of Home Affairs, or is it something that can you, for example, override that decision?
The law is very clear. And the law places that responsibility in the Minister of Home Affairs in accordance with the processes which have been set out for special development orders. And so it would not be proper for me to comment on that, certainly, and I'm certain it will not be proper for the Minister of Home Affairs to comment on that. I think that there were press inquiries which came from your press organization last week, and I believe that they were responded to in that fashion, that there is a legal process that must be followed, and it will be for the Minister of Home Affairs to review those matters and to make a decision. Thank you. If there's nothing further, I'd like to close by just stating again, thank you to the ministers, and I want to reiterate my thanks for the patience of the public as we work through these particular matters, and also for the hard work and dedication of our public officers who have worked through this process to get us to the place where we are right now. Thank you very much, and have a great day.